Hello and welcome to the first episode of Drishti's revision series based on maps for prelims 2021. We'll be having two episodes. The first one is this. First, let us have a look at the questions which have been asked based on map-based information. We won't be discussing these questions. You just need to have an idea which kind of questions UPSC has asked in past few years. So, in 2019, there was a question in which important water bodies were given. Black Sea, Caspian Sea, Mediterranean and Red Sea. And bordering countries were given in the match the following question, and you had to eliminate the wrong option or you had to find which of them are correctly matched. So if you even know a few water bodies thoroughly out of all the five, you don't, and nobody can ever know all the options in such kind of questions. If you even know a few options and the countries associated with them, you can possibly eliminate the wrong options and reach the right answer. Similarly, there was a question that important places which were in news during that time and the countries to which they belonged. So you had to right answer. Then there was again a question based on a water body and its bordering countries. Again, Mediterranean Sea was in question. So just look at this fact that Mediterranean Sea was asked, then Middle East and associated areas were asked, then again Mediterranean Sea was asked. So Mediterranean Sea and there are Middle East, these are the regions which are very important from prelims perspective. This was a question which could be answered if someone has ever looked at the Indian and the neighboring countries, the map of India and the neighboring countries closely, so one could have reached the answer. We won't be discussing the answers to this question. We will be coming straight away to the topics which are important from the perspective of the type of questions which UPSC has asked in last few years. So, the first topic in news, Beirut Explosion was in news when 2020 Lebanon, the capital of Lebanon, Beirut, it suffered a huge explosion due to the explosion of ammonium nitrate. So, let us look at the question which can be based on such kind of information, like which of the following country not only touches the Mediterranean Sea, but its capital is also adjacent to Mediterranean Sea. So, we have tried to complicate the question so that if the question is simpler, you can easily answer it, but if there is a slight complication too, you can answer it. So, the options are here. Let's think that we already know the answer. Lebanon is the answer here. We'll look at the map. Also, if possible, pause this video and keep an atlas before you. Open the Middle East part and follow the rest of the video along with me. So, moving ahead. So, if you look at the countries whose options have been given, so this is the Middle East area, what has been called Middle East from the global perspective dominated by US foreign policy. So, Lebanon, its capital is Beirut and it is located on the coast of Mediterranean Sea. Israel is also a country which touches the Mediterranean Sea, but its capital, Jerusalem, is located at the other end. Jerusalem was also in news due to various reasons, primarily because US was thinking of shifting its consulate to Jerusalem. Now, Egyptian capital, Cairo. So again, Egypt touches the Mediterranean Sea, but its capital is way deep into the mainland area. So we can see that, and then again the last option, Syria, its capital Damascus is again way deep into the mainland. So none of the other three countries, their capital is anywhere near the coast. Only Lebanon and its capital Beirut touches the coast. So that would be the answer. Now, a thing would be that you need to remember the map, a rough map in your mind regarding this whole region. Let us have a look at the map of Israel here. So Israel, people have called it a dagger or a tear depending on their political inclination here. So and we are looking at a very rough map. So this is Israel and this is Sinai Peninsula, and Sinai Peninsula is bordering Egypt. It is a part of Egypt. Once upon a time, Israel conquered it, but then it gave it back to Egypt after peace accords. So then Israel has border with, we can see, with Lebanon. Then it has border with Egypt, here we have seen. Then it has border with Jordan and with Syria. So this is a rough map, a very rough map, I agree. But so in center there is Israel, and here itself, because it conquered certain areas from certain other countries, like from Syria, it conquered Golan Heights, right? So Golan Heights is located here. So if there's a question that what are the countries bordering Golan Heights, you know where is Golan Height. Now, again, Israel, it conquered once upon a time the West Bank region. That is why it is called West Bank. It is located in the eastern region of Israel, but it is called West Bank because once upon a time it was a part of Jordan and it was in its western part, right? So such kind of map, if you can have in your mind, if you can draw on your paper, will help you in reach certain answers to certain questions. You have Sinai Peninsula touching Israel as well as touching Egypt, right? So we'll look at this map in a proper way, in a more sanitized way in the next few minutes. So moving on further, let's assume a question that there is a question that which of the following cities of the Middle East is located in the west. So direction based questions are also asked often in such kinds of exams. So let us have a look at the map. The options given before us are Beirut, Damascus, Baghdad and Tehran, right? So we have Lebanon, we have Syria, we have Iraq and we have Iran. This much we know, right? So we can also make a guess, like let's say we have India, then after India we have Pakistan. Associated with Pakistan we have Iran, because we know Iran and Pakistan in Balochistan area, they have border dispute. Then Iran and Iraq once fought a war. So after Iran will come Iraq. This much area is quite clear because after them the countries are above it or below it. So this much is clear, right? So two options, because we are asking the westernmost. So at least Iraq and Iran won't make the answer. So like this, you can also eliminate a few of the options. Now let us have a look at the map. So this is the map. So Baghdad is here, right? Then from Iraq, we further move Lebanon, the coastal capital. Then for Syria, we have Damascus. For Iraq, we have Baghdad. And for Iran, we have Tehran. So this is the trajectory from east to west. So clearly the answer is Lebanon. So if you know that Beirut is coastal capital city, then also you can reach the conclusion. Also, if you know that these two cannot be the answer in any way, then also reach the right answer. Moving on further, let's assume a different question. Which of the following three water bodies touch Israel's border? The options are Mediterranean Sea, Gulf of Aqaba and Dead Sea. Mediterranean Sea, Gulf of Aden and Dead Sea. Mediterranean Sea, Gulf of Suez and Gulf of Aden. And Israel shares a border only with the Mediterranean Sea. So we have these options. Now we can reach a conclusion by looking at the map of Israel. Now this is Israel. We had discussed in a rough map that it feels like a dagger or a tear, depending upon the political inclination or aesthetics of the individual. This is the Sinai Peninsula, right, part of Egypt. So the question was that Israel touches which of the water bodies? Now the tip of Israel touches the Gulf of Aqaba, right? This end of Israel, it touches the Mediterranean Sea. And here Dead Sea and Dead Sea. Only Dead Sea is visible in this map. So here Dead Sea is also on the eastern border of Israel. So on the basis of this information, we reach the conclusion that Mediterranean Sea, yes, Gulf of Aqaba, yes, and Dead Sea, yes. These three water bodies, they touch the border of Israel. Moving on further. So yeah, this is the complete map. You can see that the Israel located here has Mediterranean Sea here, Dead Sea here, and the Gulf of Aqaba here. Gulf of Aqaba here, and Gulf of Aqaba is further linked to Red Sea. Let's assume a different question. Where is the Sea of Galilee, a lake often seen in news, located? So now this is a very simple question, given the fact that we know that Sea of Galilee often in news is located in Israel. But let us also have a look at the map that where the Sea of Galilee is actually located. So Again, we come back to the map of Israel, and here, so bordering Jordan, we had the West Bank area, and we had Dead Sea, and Sea of Galilee is closer to Golan Heights, bordering Syria. So here it is Sea of Galilee. So, however, we can simply answer the question remembering that Sea of Galilee has often been in news. Map is not of paramount importance here. Moving on further. So, the Jordan River, it passes through this place, the Sea of Galilee, and the Jordan River originates from Mount Hermon, which is located on the border between Lebanon and Syria and joins the Dead Sea eventually. And this river, it forms the border between Jordan and Palestine for a long distance. So, here we can see that where it rises from and it reaches Sea of Galilee, and it forms the border. Moving on further. So, three important cities of Israel are given in this question. The question is basically very simple, but since Israel has been in news for so much of the time in last few years, Tel Aviv has been in news, Haifa has been in news, and Gaza Strip, due to disturbances between Israel and Palestine, has been in news. So, the question is very simple, that these areas are located in. So, this kind of question is very simple. Yes, Middle East. And where exactly they are located? So, Haifa is a port city here. Tel Aviv, which had been functioning as capital of Israel for a longest time before Jerusalem has been given this status. And Gaza Strip, which we know has been an area much under dispute between Israel and Palestine. So, these three are the important cities here. Moving on further, now the Suez Canal was in news. And why it was in news? Because a big ship was stuck in this busiest global trade route, and trade was disrupted for several weeks, causing losses of billions of dollars. Now, the question is that which of the following pairs are related to the northern and southern ends of Suez Canal? Because otherwise, Suez Canal is very simple. We know where it is located, which country has sovereignty over it, which country controls it, which water bodies are connected over it. We will discuss all these information too, but this question is slightly detailed, that which are the northern and the southern ends of Suez Canal. The options are Port Suez and Port Said, Port Said and Port Suez. So, basically north-south difference has been made in these two options. Port Suez and Gulf of Aqaba, and Gulf of Aqaba and Port Suez. So, again north-south difference has been made. Let us have a look at the map. This is the Suez Canal, a canal which has been dug to connect the Red Sea with the Mediterranean Sea. And at the southern end lies Suez, Port Suez, and the northern end lies Port Said. So, the answer is at the, we have to answer the northern one first. So, at the northern end lies Port Said, and at the southern end lies Port Suez. So, basically the entry point is Port Suez, hence option B is the right answer. Moving on further. Now, the Sinai Peninsula, we took this name so many times. The Sinai Peninsula is very much discussed. Which of the following pairs of water bodies are in close proximity to the Sinai Peninsula? The options are Aqaba, the Gulf of Aqaba and Suez Bay. Aqaba is a port city. Gulf of Aqaba and Suez Bay, Gulf of Aqaba and Bab al-Mandeb Bay, Gulf of Aqaba and Gulf of Aden, Gulf of Aqaba, Gulf of Suez, Red Sea, and the Mediterranean Sea. So, let us have a look at the Sinai Peninsula. So, this is Sinai Peninsula. Once upon a time, as we discussed, Israel took over this peninsula from Egypt in a war, but later when peace accord was signed between Israel and Egypt, it was returned back to it. So, this big entity is covered by so many water bodies. So, we obviously have Mediterranean Sea here, we have Gulf of Aqaba here, we have Red Sea here. So, let us look at the options. Gulf of Aqaba is here, Red Sea is here, Mediterranean Sea is here, and obviously we have Gulf of Suez. So, D is the right answer. So, you have to remember that Sinai Peninsula is in close proximity with Gulf of Aqaba, Gulf of Suez, Red Sea, and Mediterranean Sea. It actually shares its border with all these four water bodies. Moving on further. Now, Greece and Turkey, there were tensions between these two countries over exploration of gas reserves in Eastern Mediterranean in the area between Cyprus and Crete. And Crete, which is an island in Greece. So the question is that which of the following countries shares borders with both Mediterranean Sea and Black Sea? So let us have a look at the question and have a look at both of these water bodies, Mediterranean Sea and Black Sea. So if you have a look at the Mediterranean Sea, out of the given options, we find that Romania shares a border, Bulgaria shares a border, Turkey shares a border with the Black Sea, but only, so Turkey, we can see it shares the border with Black Sea as well as Mediterranean Sea. Once upon a time, Turkey was called the old man of Europe, sick man of Europe. So, and it is also the connecting link between Europe and Asia. So here it shares its border both with Black Sea as well as Mediterranean Sea. So let us have a look back at the question. So it is the only country which shares its border with Mediterranean as well as Black Sea. Bulgaria and Romania, they lie in the eastern side of the Europe. They were on the other side of the infamous Iron Curtain during 1970s and 80s. So these are naturally out of the question because they do not touch Mediterranean Sea. There may be a doubt between Syria and Turkey, and once you have looked at the map, you know that Syria can't have a border with the Black Sea. It is much far away from Black Sea, basically separated by Turkey. So Turkey is the only country out of the given options which shares its border with both Mediterranean and Black Sea, and hence Turkey is the answer. We'll share a few tricks to remember the countries located around Black Sea and Mediterranean Sea. A few of the tricks will be discussed in this episode. A few of them will be discussed in the next episode. Now, so certain area-based questions have also been asked in past few years in UPSC examinations. So let us have a look at such kind of potential question. So geographical area like Anatolia Plateau has been given, Nagorno-Karabakh, Taurus Range and Parana Plateau has been given. The locations has been given as Turkey, Ukraine, Turkey, Chile again. So we have to see which of them are correctly matched. Now, why they have been in news? Nagorno-Karabakh region was in news because there was a dispute between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and a rare full-fledged war was fought between two sovereign countries recently over this area. So Nagorno-Karabakh region was in news and it is not in Ukraine. So this is not correctly matched. So if we eliminate two, this option and this option is eliminated. Now moving on further, the Parana Plateau, the very famous plateau, one of the oldest and largest plateaus of South America, it is located in Brazil and not Chile. So if you know this fact, it's a very common fact of world history, physical geography. So if this is also wrong, we eliminate the fourth option, and once we do that, we reach the right answer, that is 1 and 3 are correctly matched. But we should also know that where exactly is Anatolia Plateau and Taurus Range without elimination practice. Elimination is for the exam. Here, since we are practicing, we need to know where they are really located. So Anatolia in Turkey and Taurus Range again in Turkey. Let us have a look at the map. You can see Anatolia Plateau here in Turkey and Taurus Mountains, very important mountain range, again in Turkey. So these are the options here. You need to remember the area, especially Nagorno-Karabakh, because it was very much in news for the rare incidents of a full-fledged war between two sovereign nations without active participation, at least initially, of any other major world power. So moving on further. Now Turkey recently converted Hagia Sophia Museum of Istanbul into a mosque. This museum have had a contentious history, and recently Turkey converted it back to a mosque. Now this was originally a big cathedral. It was converted into a mosque, then into a museum, and then again it has been converted into a mosque. So the city in Middle East that connects the Black Sea and the Sea of Marmara through a thin seabed, which is the country. So the answer here is Istanbul. It is because Istanbul is a city which is located both in Asia as well as Europe. It connects the these two water bodies, the Black Sea and the Sea of Marmara, through the famous Bosphorus Strait. It is a very scenic place as well. See that Bosphorus Strait connecting the two water bodies, the Black Sea and the Sea of Marmara, located here, and the Bosphorus Strait connects these two water bodies. So, this is how you can answer this question. Now, this year NASA's Perseverance rover made a landing near a Jezero crater on Mars. Scientists believe that the deposits which have been found there are similar to the deposits found near Salda Lake of Turkey, and this place has been called Mars on Earth. This is a standalone information. There is no need of map here. The image is here, but there is no need of these images. Point of referring to this information is that this place, Salda Lake of Turkey, has been called Mars on Earth. Now, recently an agreement was reached between Iran and IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, on the inspection of nuclear plants. Now, they will be used. Now, the IAEA will be able to monitor the nuclear plants here. So, again a question based on the geography of Iran and the nearby regions. So, areas are Kharan Desert. Is it located in Balochistan? Dasht-e-Lut, is it located in eastern Iran? And Dasht-e-Kabir, is it located in central Iran? Slightly more detailed options are given here, but if you know them, you will certainly know the broad options which are generally given in UPSC examination. We have to find which of them are correctly matched. So, in such kind of questions, you need to remember the important places of world physical geography which we study in the GS. So, here is Iran, and we can find that Dasht-e-Kabir and Dasht-e-Lut. Similarly, Pakistan's Balochistan area is here. So, once we have looked at the map, the Kharan Desert is the important marker, geological marker in Balochistan. Dasht-e-Lut is an important desert in eastern Iran, and Dasht-e-Kabir in central Iran. So, all the options are correctly matched. Moving on further, now Farzad B gas field. It was in news because Iran recently decided that it will not take India's help in developing Farzad B, and it will develop it domestically. India's ONGC Videsh Limited had discovered the oil field here in 2000. So, the question here is very broad. Iran is located in. So, if you remember the broad geography of this area, you can easily answer this question. Is it located between Caspian Sea and the Persian Gulf, the Mediterranean Sea and the Persian Gulf, the Caspian Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, and between the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea? So, the answer is Caspian Sea and the Persian Gulf. Let us see how. So, here is Iran. As you can see, this is the broad border of Iran, and this vast country, on its one side we have Persian Gulf, and the Indian Ocean connects via Gulf of Oman to Persian Gulf. So, we have Persian Gulf here, we have Gulf of Oman here, and we have the Caspian Sea here. So, based on this information, if you look at the options, the answer would be Caspian Sea and Persian Gulf. Moving on further, certain important locations were in news. Again, you need not to know all of these locations on map. You need to know how to associate these locations with the country to which they belong, because they were in news due to specific incidents that were happening in those countries or that have happened in those countries. For example, Ramallah, it has been the sort of headquarters of Palestine National Authority, and so it is located in Palestine. Then Aleppo, war of Aleppo was so much in news during the Syrian civil war that had engulfed Syria in past few years. So, Aleppo obviously is in Syria. Bandar Abbas port has often been in news, often linked with Chabahar port. Whenever we are discussing Chabahar port, which India is developing at Iran to circumpass the requirement of Pakistan in approaching Afghanistan. So, Bandar Abbas port also finds mention usually. It is a very important port of Iran. Then Mosul. Mosul was a city located in Iraq, and it was in news so many times due to ISIS or ISIL that had sway over some time here, or during some time back to when the Iraq war was happening. So Mosul is a city in Iraq. Then Erbil is a place in Iraq. Again, Erbil has been in news due to so many reasons. Recently, Iran, it conducted a strike at Erbil, or Erbil it is often called, Erbil, to send a message to the United States. So Erbil was in news. It is located in Iraq. This one is not correctly matched. This one is not correctly matched, and rest of them are correctly matched. Basically, we need to know the why these places were in news, and once we know that, we will be very easily able to associate these areas with the country to which they belong. Now, the FATF has put the Mediterranean island country of Malta in its grey list. We often hear of this list because the session of FATF often decides that Pakistan will continue to exist in the FATF's grey list. What it means? Kind of money laundering activities or terrorist financing activities are being held here. So Malta was in grey list recently. So it is located in Mediterranean Sea. Now, Houthi rebels, they recently carried out a drone attack on Saudi Arabia's Aramco. Aramco is, remember, the same company which was going to have a deal with Reliance Industries of India. The deal eventually could not happen, but it is the world's largest oil producer based in Tehran. And Houthi rebels, we know that Saudi Arabia has been involved in an onslaught on Houthi rebels in Yemen. Yemen's Houthi rebels, they attacked Abha airport in Saudi Arabia with a ballistic missile, but it was successfully stopped. So what you need to remember is Houthi rebels, where they are located? Yemen. Aramco might not be asked. Again, Malta, where it is located? Mediterranean Sea. Now, the question, the country in the Arabian region which touches the Red Sea on one side and the Persian Gulf on the other side. So let us have a look at the map. Which is that country? So we have Red Sea here, we have Persian Gulf here. You can also remember the map of the Middle East in this way. So there is a reclining chair. So this is the reclining chair, and this reclining chair has now several countries. So the country here is Yemen, the another country here is Oman, and Oman, this is Oman, and this is Yemen. Now, above that, we have this big Saudi Arabia. Near the tip of this country, we have Kuwait, and with this Kuwait, we have a headrest kind of thing and the bigger headrest kind of thing. This is how I have remembered it. So we have Iraq and Iran here, right? And here we have Persian Gulf. And we have the Saudi Arabia here, and Saudi Arabia on the other side we have Red Sea. The question is that, and you can also remember the few other countries which are located around here because just above Saudi Arabia we have, we mentioned Iraq and Iran. On the other side we have Jordan. So you can have this kind of map on your copy. You can practice it once or twice to remember which are the neighboring countries of the important countries here like Saudi Arabia, and which are the important water bodies here. So Saudi Arabia, it has Red Sea as well as Persian Gulf. You can see here it has Red Sea as well as Persian Gulf on its two sides, and that is why the question to this answer would be Saudi Arabia. Moving on further, which of the following gives the order of the oceanic regions from west to east in a systemic manner? So again, there are certain water bodies or oceanic regions mentioned here. We have Red Sea, Persian Gulf, Gulf of Hormuz, and Gulf of Oman. So let us have a look at the map. We have Red Sea here, we have Persian Gulf here, we have Gulf of Oman here, and Gulf of Aden here. So once you know about these water bodies, just try to have a look. We have to move from west. If you look at the information, that the Red Sea is the westernmost and the Gulf of Oman is the easternmost, and in its midst we have Persian Gulf and Gulf of Hormuz. Moving on further, we have a few tricks for countries bordering certain water bodies like Black Sea. For Black Sea, we have Get Me Black Turkey Robe. Black you should remember because these are the countries which are bordering Black Sea, and Turkey because Turkey is one of those countries which are bordering Black Sea. Now these mnemonics are absurd. During examinations, they make a lot of sense. So Get Me Black Turkey Robe. So it includes G, Georgia, then Turkey, T, U, Ukraine, R, Russia, RO, Romania, and B for Bulgaria. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 countries, they border Black Sea. These are Georgia, Turkey, Ukraine, Russia, Romania, Bulgaria. Similarly, for Caspian Sea, there has been a mnemonic Tariq or Racket, whichever you can remember. So what they stand for? R, Russia, A, Azerbaijan, K, Kazakhstan, I, Iran, and T, Turkmenistan. So these are the tricks which can be remembered, and they can be used to do questions based on Caspian Sea and Black Sea. In the upcoming episode, we'll come with more tricks based on other water bodies. That would be the last and the final episode before this prelims in the Drishti's prelims series. Till then, all the best for your preparation.